Hello and welcome to this overview video for the Monitoring, Evaluation, and Learning module. I'm Colleen Fugate and I'm on the Monitoring, Evaluation, and Learning team, which sits in the Chief Conservation Office. Today I'm really excited to be presenting this module overview on behalf of the entire team that helped develop it. Before I go any further, I think it's important to clarify what is Monitoring, Evaluation, and Learning, also known as MEL. MEL has actually been part of Conservation by Design for almost 30 years, and we're really thrilled to have developed the MEL module through the updated version of Conservation by Design. At TNC, we define MEL as the process of generating evidence to support adaptive management and to stand behind our outcomes for the 2030 goals. A MEL plan helps the team define the learning agenda questions they seek to answer, the indicators they will monitor, and how they will collect and make sense of the data to ultimately answer those learning questions. The purpose of the MEL module is to help teams develop a simple MEL plan linked to their theory of change that both managers and the team want to implement to support ongoing adaptive management. A MEL plan helps teams focus on the most useful evidence they need to collect in the near term to understand if their theory of change is playing out as expected. When do teams usually undertake this step? Well, since its launch in 1996, Conservation by Design has always been and continues to be focused on strategy development and improvement. As you can see from this visual, MEL planning typically occurs at the end of this planning process, and it's the launching pad into adaptive management. So when to use the MEL module? Your team is ready for the MEL module when you have a theory of change that's up to date, and when that theory of change has also been socialized with key interested parties. This means you've gotten feedback on the TOC from implementing partners, local communities, or even other TNC teams who you'll be partnering with in the work. Secondly, it's important that your team has a shared understanding of the near-term focus of your strategy. For example, what activities or strategic approaches are you focused on implementing this year? And which outputs or IRs do you expect to achieve in the next 6 to 18 months? These are really important questions that you should be able to answer prior to starting the MEL module. Third, it's important that your team has clarity about the metrics you'll contribute to for the 2030 goals. Will your work contribute to an improved management metric, or maybe it's avoided conversion? It's important to be familiar with the 2030 goals and metrics that apply to your strategy. Lastly, the MEL module is most helpful, of course, when teams meet the readiness criteria that I just laid out, and when managers in the team truly want to gather useful evidence for adaptive management. It's helpful if your team already engages in strategy reviews or regular pause, reflect, and adjust meetings maybe once or twice a year, which is a great place where evidence from MEL could be brought into the conversation to help inform decision making. Okay, I want to talk now about what this module does and doesn't do. First and foremost, this module will help your team develop a simple MEL plan. And when I say a simple MEL plan, that means it's a plan that includes just 1 to 2 critical near-term intermediate results from your theory of change, along with the outputs and outcomes associated with those IRs. As we all know, theories of change can have many intermediate results, sometimes even up to 10 or 15. And if we include all those IRs in a MEL plan, which will have many indicators, suddenly it can become really difficult to implement that plan. Thus, the MEL module will set your team up to develop a lightweight, simple MEL plan that's focused on 1 to 2 near-term critical IRs and their outputs and their outcomes. As part of the module, you'll also develop indicators for the intermediate result that you select and its outputs and outcomes. The module will also help set up your team for greater alignment on your near-term learning focus for adaptive management. For example, the key learning agenda questions that you plan to answer. So these are some of the things that the module will help you do. Now I'd like to cover a few things that the module won't help you do. The first is updating your TOC. The MEL module is not set up to help you make adjustments to your theory of change. Of course, during the module, there might be some minor tweaks to the TOC, but if your team hasn't revisited your theory of change in some time, or if you need to align on core parts of the TOC, we really recommend that you visit the TOC module or other previous modules to explore those conversations. Secondly, the MEL module is not designed to have you develop a comprehensive MEL plan for your entire theory of change. As I stated previously, the module will focus on just 1 to 2 key IRs and their associated outputs and outcomes. And then lastly, the MEL module is not designed for target setting for the 2030 goals. It's really best if your team has already read the metrics guidance before the module and has set first draft targets. Okay, what are the major steps involved in this module? The MEL module is divided into 3 facilitated workshops. The first workshop is focused on developing learning agenda questions. This is done through first selecting the IR that the team will focus on in the module and mapping the outputs that are connected to that selected IR. Then the team will define their learning agenda questions based on that work. The second workshop is focused on drafting the simple MEL plan for the selected intermediate result and its outputs. This includes defining indicators, potential data sources, methodologies, frequency of the data collection, and the person responsible. Your team will also discuss equity considerations and when and how data should be disaggregated. The third and final workshop is focused on connecting the simple MEL plan to outcomes. You'll visit the metrics for the 2030 goals and define success and indicators at the outcome level. So now we're thinking beyond that 6 to 18 month time frame in broader context. Lastly, your team will discuss key next steps to move your MEL plan forward to begin adaptively managing your work. Who generally participates in the module? So the ideal group size is 3 to 5 individuals. Participants include members of the core planning team, especially those who will be in charge of collecting data or who will be coordinating the implementation of the MEL plan more generally. There are also a few optional participants. You might choose to invite a subject matter expert to the final workshop when thinking about 2030 goals and metrics and counting your contributions toward the goals. You might also consider including someone who represents an external interested party if they'll be playing a role in implementing the MEL plan or you think it's important that their voice is in the room. And sometimes we get questions around why group sizes of only 3 to 5, and we found that if there's more than 5 individuals in the room, it can be hard for everyone to participate meaningfully, and so that's generally why we recommend group sizes of about 3 to 5. In terms of key products that emerge from this process, you can expect a first draft simple MEL plan to support adaptive management, and you can expect to have a list of learning agenda questions that your team will plan to answer in the next 6 to 18 months. Lastly, if you're interested in learning more about MEL, I really encourage you to check out the MEL Connect page. You might also find it helpful to look at the simple MEL plan template that's in a Word document format, and there are also a few example simple MEL plans also in Word document formats. All right, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really hope it's been helpful to you. And if you have any interest in learning more, I really do encourage you to check out the conservationbydesign.org website, where you can find more information about the MEL module and all the other modules as well. So thanks again for your attention and looking forward to being in contact.